Hello, this is KiwaniTalk. My name's Ray Scaboria. I'll be your host for this evening's program. KiwaniTalk is a public information program brought to you from the facilities of WDHS at Dearborn High School. We've been doing this for a while, about 30 years now. Tonight we're very pleased to have as our guest Dr. Dan Johnson of Johnson Family Dentistry right here in Dearborn. And I'm proud to say that Dr. Dan is my dentist.
I am, yeah.
And I'm very pleased with his service. But what we thought we would start by talking about a little bit is the process that's involved in becoming a dentist, which is a pretty extensive process. And so, Dr. Dan, would you kind of give us a synopsis there?
Well, the vast majority of dentists will start obviously graduating from some sort of undergraduate college. For example, I went to the University of Michigan. After that, you take some entrance exams like the DAT, it's called. And with these...
What does that stand for? DAT, dental something?
Dental aptitude test.
Okay, okay.
Once you take that test, that's like a general exam with some science knowledge and things of that nature, that kind of like the kids take now to get into college, the ACT, SAT. Like medical school has a similar one that most professional schools do. Yeah. You take that to get a score, you apply to dental schools, and then get accepted, hopefully. I got accepted to the University of Detroit Mercy, which another 4 years. So typically most dental people that come out as dentists will have 8 years of college. I had one extra year. I went to Wayne State for a year for some graduate work, but then progressed on to dental school. And so it's a long haul, you know, 8 years of sacrifice.
So probably, I'm just guessing, but probably the first years are all kind of coursework.
Well, you know, in undergrad, you're going to take prerequisites, science-based things that the dental schools want you to take, very similar to the courses that, say, a medical student would take. You know, you take those courses. Once you get into dental school, the first 2 years of dental school is primarily didactic work, yes, coursework, book work, and also simulation labs where we're working on like typodonts, we call them, which is artificial teeth, not an actual patient. You know, to get our skills down, and we're also doing things like gross anatomy and, you know, biochemistry, all kinds of courses. We take at the 2 year mark, you take a board exam once you're done with that portion of dental school. And then the last 2 years of dental school, many classes as well, but you're also, half your day is spent in clinics. You know, like the U of D has its own clinic, and then when I was there, we used to go a few days down to Detroit Receiving Hospital for certain days. And you have patients of your own, and you treat them under the supervision of instructors.
So you actually have patients that you sign up as your patients while you're there?
Sure, they will supply you patients. U of D's always been great at that. So you get your patient family, and you can have people come in to see you that you know. Yeah. And you have to typically have to complete a certain number of each procedure. And then when you're done with your 4 years, you take a board exam where actually you're treating patients in the board exam, and they make sure you're proficient so they can let you out into the world of dentistry. Now, I've been doing this for 23 years, so it's been a while, but I knew even nowadays a lot of students will do even more. I went directly to work. My father, as you know, is a dentist, so I started working with him and learned from him, where many students now will do a residency program, and they'll go 2 years in a residency as well.
It was like you had what do you call that? You had like a tutor at hand, so to speak.
Yes.
If something came up, you had someone to
I
ask
had,
that
yes,
could give you a pretty good...
I had my father to ask for help, which was easy and not easy sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If you've ever worked with family.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
I imagine that was tough occasionally.
Yeah, it's moments, but it was very rewarding.
Now, the other thing about dentistry is there's a big psychological issue with dentistry also. Some patients are kind of afraid of going to the dentist, although I don't think they are like they used to be.
No, it's changed, thankfully.
It's changed a lot.
Well, when you know, say years ago, a dentist was not necessarily trained as much in say, behavior-wise, trying to make a patient comfortable. It was basically sit down, this is happening, and get them out the door. Where now we try to make people comfortable, because you know, I know me personally, especially when I have little kids, and I want to make their first experience as good as possible. Because I don't want to create someone with a phobia, because then If you do that, then they're going to have a difficult issue with dentistry for the rest of their lives mostly.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I think we've come a long way on that. Obviously some dentists are better at it than others, but that's what I know my goal is.
Well, I'm sure there's a few courses that kind of stress the way you have to proceed with this.
They
try and keep that relationship one where the patient is not fearful.
Sure. Yes. No. They do a better job of that. And to be honest, there was, like, if you did some of the things they did years ago, you may find yourself in court. There's things that just you couldn't get away with now.
Well, I remember with your father when he was treating me, a couple times he would say, you have I don't know if it's right to say high or low. I think I have a high pain. I don't feel pain like a lot of people do.
Sure, yeah.
But I never liked the Novocaine needle very much.
Well,
and he says, I really don't think for most of these things, I don't think you need it. And so the next time I went, do you want to try it with no Novocaine? Sure. So he did procedures on me with no Novocaine. I had no problem with it.
Some people do.
And he was pretty good judgment. I mean, there are things where he was pretty sure I'd need it, so he gave it to me, But I don't know if that's pretty much a standard thing when you're getting a filling, you're drilling and that sort of thing. I think most people would get Novocaine, wouldn't they?
Well,
I don't know if it's
lidocaine is generally,
lidocaine,
or there's other local anesthesia, but I think it comes down to the person. I'd say the vast majority of people do, but I have many patients that, I always try to be, if I think that they won't feel anything, obviously I'm honest with them and say, if you want to try to do this without local, of course we can. If it makes you feel better just psychologically to have it, hey, I have a drawer full of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's whatever is going to make the patient the most comfortable. Some people don't like the numbness and would rather not be numbed. It's just the way it is.
It's actually not like the Novocaine needle hurts, it's more the thought of it.
Well, it's predominantly psychological. I'd say the two things that most people dislike about coming to the dentist is, one, the injection, the needle, and two, the sounds.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we haven't been able to get rid of either, but there are things that you can do as a dentist to try to decrease.
What do you do? You rub a little surface?
You do, like things like topicals, but I think a lot of it is a little bit of distraction, but also trust. Like I try to, with my patients, build up trust that they know that I'm going to do everything in my power not to hurt them. And so if they're relaxed and they know that, then the discomfort is, you're never going to say you can't have any discomfort, but you can keep it minimal to the point where most people can tolerate just fine.
Well, I'm old enough to remember the day when it wasn't that way, that it was, the dentist was tense. The dentist was,
sure,
because of the relationship with the patients, that so many of the patients were fearful of being treated.
That was what created the phobia, so to speak, and people have the fears because.
And of course, it's hard for the dentist if he's going through that with many patients. It's tough for him.
Well, it takes you definitely have to be patient and and just ultimately realize that a lot of these things, it's not like a patient's trying to be difficult or afraid. It's not their fault that they're that way, and you have to treat them accordingly and be not judgmental but understanding. And I think if you do that honestly, they understand that, and then it makes it easier on them.
Yeah, I noticed that very much. Well, probably your father, because he was my dentist for 30 years probably, and he was the first dentist that I really felt was operating mostly that way.
Sure.
And so now you've taken over his practice. How long has it been now?
My father, well, I've been out of dental school for 23 years. It seems it's been a while. And he has been retired for the last 9. So I've been my own for 9 years now. We worked together those years prior. He slowly slowed down over time. That was kind of nice thing about me working in this line of work along with him, is he could slowly retire instead of just stopping. So. Well,
I remember during that period you were there part-time. You weren't there
I did work at with another dentist in another part of town a couple days a week as well.
Yeah. There's another thing about dentistry and a dental practice. I look at the equipment and I think to myself, gosh, this equipment's got the cost of it initially, and then after a while, most of the equipment seems to become dated. Certain items.
It depends. You know, like anything that's related. Dentistry is just like most professions now. We've got a lot more. The computers are a lot more involved. You know, like for example, I have computers in every operatory. I have a laser. I have a scanner. These are just up-to-date technology that we use. But and those, yes, those you have to change periodically because they go out of date. Now, that being said, say for example, things like the dental chair or the X-ray units that I have. Most of the maintenance people tell me you want to keep those because they don't make them like they used to. So I repair them as much as possible. The new ones don't, as we know with a lot of things nowadays, don't last. So it kind of depends on the stuff.
One thing I was thinking now, I don't know the time frame, but all the X-rays changed from film to
digital.
Yes. And I don't know when that was, but that was. I'm sure that cost a little when that's what the change was made.
I'd love to say it's cheap, but no, that's one of the things, that's one of the challenges of dentistry is, again, just like any profession, is the cost of doing business and the overhead has gone up, you know, and but technology also provides a lot of benefits. Say, for example, those digital x-rays, we're using less radiation to expose those images than we were when we were using regular film. So there's a benefit to the patient there. Yeah. To the point now where I still put lead aprons on my patients whenever I take x-rays, but theoretically, according to the American Dental Association, we don't even have to do that anymore. There's so little radiation. So technology has done some good things. Yeah,
and it's so quick. You have the images immediately.
Boom, they go right up in the computer and I can blow them up and make them big and check them out, which is nice.
Is there more resolution in the digital image than there used to be in I guess they were just photographic slides.
Plus, you know, the old ones, if you remember, they were, what, an inch by half an inch. Now I can make it the full computer screen, so we can detect things a lot quicker radiographically than we used to be able to. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's so interesting to me. Now, I went to college. I was a physics major, and I had thoughts of going to graduate school, but I wasn't the best student, partly because I was working. And I did go to graduate school, but I went to school to become a guidance counselor, which is a master's degree. But I never did anything with it. I ended up going into sales, but. It's interesting to hear about the process that you go through to become a dentist, and you know, it's the same thing as becoming a doctor. Pretty much the same.
It's similar, yes. Doctors obviously have to do the residency that dentists don't have to do, but it's a lot of schooling. Yeah,
you know, I come to your office, and mostly it's for cleanings, but I come to your office a couple times a year, and it's very efficient. It doesn't take long, and then you get a look at my teeth, and I'm almost ashamed that you look at them and say we don't need to do anything.
Well, that's a good thing for you.
Yeah,
that's what we hope.
I guess it is. I guess it is. But you still feel a little guilty. You know?
Well, don't.
Don't.
I'm happy that's my goal with every patient is eventually get to the point where when I'm coming in and checking them that I could say, good work, and I'll see you in 6 months.
And I'm sure you have a patient now and then that just needs a lot of work, you know.
Well, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's how we keep the doors open, unfortunately, you know. They thought years ago that dentistry and decay would go away, but it's still there, and with the diet-related things that people do nowadays, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. My wife came to see you not long ago, and she needs a crown.
Sure.
And she learned about, you have a process where it's I don't know exactly what you call it, but you pay a certain amount down, and then it lowers your so much a year, I guess it is.
You're talking about our savings plan, yes.
Savings plan.
We have a lot of people have been losing insurance. It's not like it was years ago where people kept their benefit through retirement. Most people, that doesn't work that way anymore. So I have many patients now that don't have insurance, so I created a savings plan for those people, which in essence is something where if they pay in advance for their cleanings for the year, they get 20% off treatment of anything after that.
That's a great benefit for people.
Sure.
And I mean, we're in that situation. We don't have any insurance for dental insurance, and she paid for her policy, and I'm going to pay for mine the next time I come in.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we want people to come in. You know, what will happen when they lose insurance? They skip out on it and they disappear for a while. Yeah. And what happens there is then when they finally do come in, a lot of times they need very expensive work. So just like anything else, if you keep on maintaining, the costs go down. So I want to give people incentive to come on a regular basis so then I can catch things when they're little instead of big.
Dr. Dan, we need to take a short break.
Sure.
Dr. Dan Johnson of Johnson Family Dentistry right here in Dearborn. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with you in a couple of minutes.
There must be a lot of love out there in the world, at least if you think of all the things people say they love. But it's funny. Sometimes the things we love the most are the ones we don't talk about often enough. I mean, the things that bring true change to a child's life, to a community, to the people who come together and make change happen. Think about what you love about your club. Think about the children it reaches. Think about the pride it gives you. And think about this. Thousands of Kiwanians around the world love being members of their clubs too. So think about what could happen if we all shared our Kiwanis stories. After all, there's a million things to love in the world, but there's nothing like a love that makes the world better. So show it, share it, let the world know.
Hello, we're back here on KiwaniTalk with Dr. Dan Johnson of Johnson Family Dentistry here in Dearborn. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about your cost savings program where you pay for the cleanings in advance and then at once, and then you get a discount on other work.
Correct, yes.
Which is, that's a great help for people that, really want to take care of their teeth.
That's true, yeah.
Any way to, economize. I mean, let's face it, we're all in that position.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing because, again, the struggle a lot of people have is that when they say lose their insurance through the employer, they'll go on the open marketplace and try to find, say, dental, for example. But fortunately, dental isn't like medical. It's just a supplement, and it can be deceptive. So it turns into a numbers game. I'm paying X premium, but I'm only getting X out. So a lot of times for patients, it's just easier to do a savings plan because they may end up ahead in the long run. So
yeah. No, I mean, I'm in.
Yep.
Next time I'm in there, you're getting my check. Since you started the office, give me a little synopsis of things that seem to be changing in the dental field.
Well, I'd say, obviously, physically, we talked earlier about a lot more technology, and that's it's for the most part a good thing. A lot of the technology is improving treatment for patients, and as we talked earlier, most people are keeping their teeth for longer, which is great. If we can stay out of dentures, that's nice, because dentures a lot of times are a pain in the butt, unless you have the money to do some sort of case where you're doing implants, which can be very expensive. But a lot of people can't do that, so we try to keep we can keep teeth longer with the advancements.
It used to be that people would get gold crowns and stuff like that, even in their front teeth. But now there's a whole family of, well, you explain them. They're not plastics. They're what do you call them? They're white. They look like teeth, but
the most of the crowns done now are full zirconia crowns. It's kind of like in the same family. People ask what that is, and I say, for example, it's in the same family of things where like the fake diamonds, the cubic zirconia.
Okay.
But most crowns now are made by computers and milling machines, just like a lot of things out in the manufacturing world. Things are the shape of the tooth is scanned and put into a computer, and someone sits on the computer, and it's a little cube, mills out something that looks like a tooth, and there you go.
Yeah. When at one point we had rentals, and one of our tenants was a young man, and he he had a oven and this and that, and he did gold crowns.
Sure.
And it was just a little one-room apartment, well, two-room apartment, but he didn't need much room apparently.
No.
No, but that still exists, I imagine.
It does. Just like if you went to a dental lab now, compared to say 20 years ago. Dental lab 20 years ago was a lot of metalwork, golds and metals and porcelain, so it'd be a dusty place with a lot of people, skilled workers with their hands doing that artwork. Now you go to a dental lab and there's a couple of those people in the corner. The vast majority of the lab is people on computers, you know, and machines manufacturing.
Yeah, and probably a business like that where one person is doing it is probably a struggle to maintain the business.
Unfortunately, in this day and age of dental labs, you don't have many of those anymore. The cost of the equipment is so high that the labs are bigger, and a little, I guess, corporate aspect of it has taken over a little bit.
Now, are there also, I want to say elastomerics, that doesn't sound right. Like, are there any high-grade plastics that can be used for fillings and stuff like that?
Not really plastics. Or fillings are done out of it's called a composite resin now.
A composite resin, that's what I meant to say.
The composite resin, which is the white fillings that everyone goes in for now.
Yeah.
We don't do the silver amalgam very often anymore. And, and then you can go up from there depending on expense. Some people will put porcelain onlays, inlays, zirconia, things of that nature. But the vast majority of people do a nice white composite filling, and looks nice, and they have a good result.
Are any of these, now fillings, if people get them young sometimes, there's a point where they need to be redone. Okay?
Sure.
And do all these materials, is there any difference in the way they're processed, say when you have to drill them out and that sort of thing?
No, for the dentist, well, we remove a filling, it's the same process.
Yeah.
Just they're different colors. For me, it doesn't make much of a difference. It's just we out with the old, in with the new, so to speak.
Yeah, I'll bet those bits are diamond bits.
We have carbide, carbide burrs and diamond burrs, sure.
Yeah.
For differing things. All depends on what we're doing. We have all kinds of little fun tools for us to shape teeth.
And I'll bet you those little tools are not very cheap.
No, anyone in the medical dental profession knows nothing really is anymore, unfortunately.
And I'm sure there's also the thing that must happen is over a period of time, some don't get used very much anymore until the point where they're not ever used anymore, and you have to kind of clean them out.
Yeah, you got to dispose of the old, dental materials nowadays, you want to plan accordingly. You have a good staff that will, so you don't want to pitch, even these composite resins. There's an expiration date on everything, so there is an art form to making sure you order at the right time so you're not throwing out these things.
Yeah. Okay, now, Dr. Dan, I wanted to ask you to give me one other thing. What do you see? Do you see changes coming? Are there some things that are happening in the dental business that are evolving at all?
I don't know if it's evolving. I think, well, there'll always be more technology as far as treatment goes. But I think people will notice in the dental business that things are, since the cost of doing business is so high, like I'm a sole practitioner, I'm on my own. I personally believe that that's going to slowly decrease. I'm going to be kind of a dying breed, so to speak, in that aspect. You're going to see bigger offices. Unfortunately, it goes towards more of a corporate type of situation. I think people will notice that. If they've been to a bunch of dentists, you will find situations where it's not the dentist owning the practice, they're working for somebody. And there's good things to that, but there's also some negatives in my opinion.
Well, it happens in law and a lot of,
it's happening
medicine. It happens in a lot of other fields.
It's happening in everything. Yeah, unfortunately, that's why, I'm happy that I'm on my own, because I can still, unfortunately in that aspect, again, this is not everywhere, but you will find people will be frustrated because sometimes they go to places and their goal is to produce, and sell things. Like, I don't like to look at it that way. I'm just trying to take care of people, and I still want to maintain a long-term relationship and as much time as possible with the patients. And I think, unfortunately, due to the cost of doing business, that decreases for people. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say you have a great office, and
Thank
it's
you.
a very pleasant going to the dentist. Honestly, it's not it's not something that's dreaded or ever. You know,
Well,
it's a pleasant visit.
Well, I want to say, like, thank you. That's what I want, and I'm blessed that I have a very, staffing is obviously very difficult for most businesses nowadays. And I'm blessed. Part of the reason that is not just because of me, but I have a staff of 3, Cindy, Shannon, and Angela, that are fantastic. They're probably the best staff I've ever had, and thankfully I've been very fortunate to be able to keep staff for long periods of time, and that really helps with I believe, the office atmosphere.
I have to give you another plug here. I'm in the Kiwanis Club, and we raise money once a year. And your father before you, and you have never failed to be supporters when it comes to our fundraising drive, and it's very generous of you.
Well,
we certainly appreciate it. If you ever want to come to Kiwanis, you can have dinner there on me. But I know you live across town.
I do, yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Where do you live, actually?
I actually live in St. Clair Shores.
St. Clair Shores.
So on the east side of town.
What's it, 45 minutes? Or?
A half hour to 40 minutes.
Yeah,
All depends on traffic.
Depending on traffic, yeah. Well, it's really interesting, really pleasant to have you here.
Well, thank you so much.
We want to put, give us your website.
It's johnsonfamilydentistrymi.com. Also, phone number is 313-563-2400, and we're located in Dearborn,
just north of the Country Club.
Yeah, it's just north
Outer
of
Drive on the
we're the other end of
west
the
side.
Yeah, other end of that long strip, opposite the Little Caesars. We're the other end.
Yeah, yeah. Okie doke. Well, thanks again for joining us, Dr. Dan Johnson, and join us on KiwaniTalk again soon.